in a hush falls over the crowd. Ship to accompany
Are we ready?
is your request.
I'm gonna call again.
Just put the same name.
Welcome to WebEx. Enter your access code or meeting number followed by pound.
I don't know if it's a hotel. Says it's off.
Enter your attendee ID number followed by pound. If you do not know... Hello?
Hello.
Alright, are you guys back and all set up?
Yep. We're on the computer that has the Wasp installed.
Okay, so what I'm going to have you do is share your screen with me. So in the WebEx viewer, if you will go up to the top left-hand corner, there is a little button that says share, and you'll choose share my screen.
Okay.
So have you guys done anything in the software so far?
Well, I have, but the other two that are here for the training haven't, so I'm gonna have them do the training with you so you can explain to them step by step.
Okay, does everybody that's on the call need to go through like the admin settings and how to set up usernames and groups and things like that?
Well, Jana, you should know how to do that. When I'm done with the project, you're gonna be the one adding users if there's a need for them. So
Okay.
yeah, one of them will.
Perfect. That tells me where to start. Now, just so you guys know, we do record our training sessions, so you will be able to receive a link to the recording after it's completed. So you guys can always use that to re-watch the training or just share it with somebody else that can't be here today. So that will be yours to do with whatever you wish.
Okay, that's great.
So let's go ahead and load the inventory control program and go ahead and tell me what types of items you guys will be tracking.
Okay.
Mostly
go ahead and
t-shirts, sweatpants, quarter zips. So it's like clothing.
Okay.
open inventory control.
And were you guys using anything else to track that stuff previously?
No, just manual counts, papers.
Okay, so go ahead and log in here. Have you guys set up a password for that admin account?
No.
Okay, then you should just be able to click OK and get right in. And I noticed on that login screen that you guys are still running the version 7.1. There has actually been a patch that has been released since then, and it's version 7.2. And I don't want to take up any more of your training time trying to install it right now. But when I send the link to the recording, I will also send a link for you guys to install that patch. Because that patch really fixed some of the printing and label preview errors that were happening in the program.
I noticed that.
So we might see some of those print preview errors today, and after you install that patch, that should take care of it.
Yeah, it was a kind of annoying thing, yeah.
Yeah, so I have made a note already to send you a link to that so you guys can get that done as soon as the training's over.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just some basic navigation stuff and the admin setup we'll start with first. At the very top left, there's 4 little title icons up there. File really just allows you to log out if you're going to walk away from the system. You can also go to the file menu to change your password if you need to at any point. So we're going to look at setting up a username and a password for anyone that's going to log in. And we do recommend that everyone have their own username and password because the system can track who is doing what. So if you need to see who moved that item, who got rid of this item, you can go and see who was logged in at the time doing those functions. The tools button right next to that, if you go into options, this is going to be your system settings basically. Every work for you, which ones will not. Now, there are a handful of them that I do like to talk about in the training because some of them can make building your database up a little easier and faster. So I'm going to talk about a few of these and then recommend you guys come back in here later after you kind of have a good feel for how the program works. So since you guys were doing a manual count before, I take it that you guys, do you have any specific like item numbers, product numbers that you want to use in the system?
Yeah, we're working on that as we're speaking.
Okay, if you have your own way of like numbering your items, then go ahead and click on where it says automatic item numbers, and let's make sure this is turned off. So I would uncheck that. So anytime you put a new item in the system, you will have to manually put in whatever item number it is that you're adding.
Okay.
So that way you can, if you already have those identifying numbers, you can still use them in here.
Great.
Right below that where it says automatic new, okay, I do like to keep this one turned on in the beginning because everything you put into the system in the beginning is new. So every time you enter something that's new, the system will automatically pop up a create new screen for whatever it is that you're adding, and it really allows you to work a lot faster. So you can just add these things as you go very quickly. This is something, though, after your database is built up and you have all your items in here, I would recommend actually turning it back off. So on right now, and then this one I would recommend turning off later.
Okay.
Right below that where it says automatic notification. So this allows you guys to put in a minimum stock level for each of your different clothing items, and when you reach that minimum stock, you'll be alerted in the system that you're low in stock automatically. So if you need to have at least 10 of a particular t-shirt in stock at all times because it's a really popular item, then as soon as you get rid of so many that it drops down to 10 or less, you'll get an alert in the system saying you've reached your minimum. So you can set up a different minimum for each different item. You don't have to set a minimum for any of them. But if you have anything that you want to be alerted about when you get low in stock, then let's go ahead and leave this on. If you're not going to use that feature, we can turn it off.
No, we're going to use it.
Perfect. Okay, and I'll show you guys how to set up those minimums for each item. So let's go down a little bit further under the support section to edit field names. This is super handy to keep on. Anybody that has admin privileges can rename any of the fields that you'll see in blue hyperlinks. So if you don't like that we named it item number and you want to name it clothing number, you could do that. So there's lots of different field names that you can change. There's very few that you cannot. Let's scroll down a bit more. There's an email section I want to talk about briefly. So in this version, you guys do also have the ability to receive email alerts and to email out any purchase orders or pick orders that you might need to. Do you guys foresee using the purchase order or pick order in here?
We do purchase orders from our blank warehouse. So, I mean, what would the email say?
You would just email the purchase order itself if you create it in the system. You could email it over to your supplier to place an order.
We kind of already do that, right?
So that would be like...
So your other system does that.
But they have their own system that they already use to do it. I don't know if they're going to switch all their POs.
They should.
No. No, we already have a system in order.
Okay, and what about for pick orders? When a customer orders something from you, do you guys put those somewhere else? Do you want to create pick orders in the system for those?
Well, we do events. So what happens is, like, my boss gives me a list of things to pull, and then I would pull them, and they would go out to an event, and then when they come back, obviously it's minus what they sold. So there's not really, like, customers, if that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, no problem. I always ask just to make sure that I know what to cover, because 3 hours goes by really fast, so I want to cover what's the most important to you guys. So that being said, the email section here could benefit you to receive email alerts if you want to. So we don't have to worry about emailing pick orders or purchase orders. But in the system, not only do you get an alert if something is low in stock, you could also get an alert if you are tracking anything by a date code, like expiration date or use by date, sell by date. You can be alerted when those date codes are expiring. If you loan anything out, so let's say you guys check out all of these items that you're taking to these events, because you're not really sure how much is going to get sold, and so I don't want to remove things that aren't going to be sold and then add them back into my system later. You could do that, or you could just simply check them out as if they were just being loaned out, and then when you return, check them back in and just remove what was sold. So you can also loan things out. You can set due dates for that.
Now can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference in the, okay, like you check it out. What is going, how would I do that?
Now we'll go through the process here in a little bit, but think of a checkout like a public library. If you go to the library, you can check out a book from them. It still belongs to them. They're allowing you to use it for however much time. When you return it, they'll check it back in. They'll put it back on their shelf so someone else can use it later. So there's two different ways that things leave your possession in here. There's a checkout, which is a temporary leaving, and there's a removal, which is a permanent removal.
Okay, then
so
the checkout.
If you go and remove, 20 shirts and just hope that they get sold, whatever doesn't get sold, you'll have to add back in as new inventory. Or if you
then we definitely want to do the checkout.
If you have it all, then you can check everything back in when you get it back, and then just remove those that were actually sold. So they're either processes. It's really just up to you and how you want the system to work.
It wouldn't do it automatically? Remove it?
I missed that question.
It wouldn't remove it automatically? Like if I checked out 20 pieces and 15 came back, would it automatically remove the 5? Or is that something that I would have to manually do?
Everything that's checked out ultimately has to be checked back in. So you would check back in the 20 and then immediately remove 5 that were sold.
So I would still have to count everything when it comes back?
You have to tell the system how many to remove. It has no idea how many were sold.
Okay.
So the email section here, not everyone uses it. So for you guys, it would just be beneficial if there's any alerts that you want to receive via email. All the alerts that I mentioned, you will automatically come through your system. So when you log in, anything that's past due or expiring or whatever will immediately show up in the alert tab at the very top of the screen. So this email section is just an added way to get an email notification as well. If you want to receive those, you just need to put in your email service provider's SMTP settings in here. Those would be the same settings you would use to set up your email on your phone, but you would just need to enter those same settings into here to allow the system to communicate with your email service provider.
Now, what is a packing slip?
That's going to be used if you're using pick orders and you need to pick those items and ship them out to a customer, then you can print a packing slip for that shipment.
But not when you're checking stuff out?
No, a checkout is just a loan, so no.
Okay.
You can print a receipt when you check things out that will show everything that was checked out. That's definitely different than this, and you can't email those. You can only print them.
Okay, we'll need to go over that as well.
Okay, yep, we'll go over each of the processes. So, are you guys going to use any of the email alerts, you think?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, then let's go ahead and click OK here just to save the few changes we made at the top. And we'll go through each process, so don't worry about that. Right now, we're just still doing a little bit of setup. So at the very top, you see the button that says Check for Alerts. That is where any alerts would come through your system if things are low in stock, etc. That's where you will see those. And then right next to that, where it says Help, let's go ahead and go into the contents in here. This is a built-in user manual. So when you guys are first getting started in learning the program, this is imperative to know that it's here, to know it exists. If you ever have questions or need to see how something works, these will give you screenshots and step-by-step directions on how to do anything in the system. So at the top there's a search box. It's definitely easy to just type in there what you want to learn about, and it's going to pull up a list of options. You'll pick the option that you want, and it'll, again, show you screenshots and step-by-step directions. Now, on top of this, we also have tutorial videos on our website. So if you're more of a visual person, want to see somebody actually going through it, then we also have some videos for some of the most common functions. This definitely has more information in it, but we do have some videos on our website for free as well. Okay, so let's close this box. Just remember that's there. That's really handy as you're getting started. Now here in the middle, you have 5 title icons: the administration, the inventory, reports, etc. Go ahead and click on administration, if you will, and then you'll see a menu displayed at the very bottom. Let's start with the company information, the far left. And go ahead and put your company name in here. This will ensure that it prints on any reports that you pull. So as you guys are pulling reports to see your numbers, that will be stamped on there basically. Now your address won't pull into anything if you're not going to be using orders, pick orders and purchase orders, but you can put it in here if you want it just for informational purposes, but that is handy if you are going to use orders in the future. If you don't want to enter it now, we can just click OK and save the company name.
Should we add it?
This address, probably, yeah.
If you close it, it won't save it, so you'll need to make sure you click that OK button at the bottom.
District Boulevard.
Before an impact 7.
Well, the keyboard's off to
Yeah.
my left.
All right, now let's go right next to that into the security section. And this is where you guys can set up different users, different user groups, and you can assign very specific privileges to different groups as well. So right now you have that admin user, which is just the default account that comes with the program, and it looks like Ricardo also created a username for himself.
Yeah.
So if everyone else that's going to be logging in will also be admins in the system, then we can just create new users and add them to the admin group. But if you have somebody that does not need to be an admin, that does not need to be able to delete things or edit certain things, then you can actually create another group and you can decide what privileges that group has. Then you can add usernames into that group and they would only have the permissions that you set up for that particular group. So it really allows you guys to have quite a bit of control over who's doing what when they log in here. Do you guys have a need for another group with limited permissions?
I think we will, but since there are going to be multiple warehouses, we will want for the users to only have access to their particular warehouses.
That's perfect. You can do that as well. So you see kind of towards the bottom it says site, and then there's a little checkbox that says user can access all current and future sites.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to set up sites, and you can have each warehouse be a different site, and you can allow that group to just have access to their particular warehouse.
Okay.
So you could have warehouse 1 group, you could have warehouse 2 group, warehouse 3 group, however many you have, and just allow them permission to that particular site.
Exactly.
But since we haven't created your sites yet, we can't pick and choose them right now. We could go ahead and create a new group just to see how it works. And then later you guys can come in here and be really specific on what permissions they can have and which warehouse they get to access. Because a lot of these privileges, again, will make more sense once we go through everything and you know what the function just go ahead and give it a name. Again, you could make it specific to that warehouse. You could say this is for warehouse 1, another group for warehouse 2.
Yeah, because like we discussed, we're not going to divide
Okay.
these two into
Everything.
different warehouses.
Just a different state name.
Exactly. Yeah, the name of the warehouse should be.
And just click OK to save that. And you could immediately create a second one if you want to right now, so it clears it out so that you can just keep adding stuff if you want. Or you can close. So now you can, on the right-hand side, you can select the specific privileges that you want them to have. So again, a lot of these functions will make more sense a little bit later once we go through everything. But be sure that you do at least allow them to log in, or they'll never be able to get in. Log in on the PC and the mobile if you want. Did you guys purchase a mobile computer?
Yes, with it.
Perfect.
We don't need
And
to
then,
do
so
that.
at the bottom, I'm not going to have you check that box that says they can access all sites. I'm going to let you just come back in here later once we create our sites and pick exactly which warehouse you want to give them permission to. So we'll kind of skip that section for now. And you guys can come into this little area and edit this anytime you want to. You can add as many groups as you want. You can add as many users as you want. There is no limit. So you can really, have as many groups and assign these different privileges as specifically as you need to. Now, if you give them access to pull report, you do need to go to that reports tab that's kind of at the top there, and you need to also select which reports they can pull. Again, there's a ton of reports in here. There is no way you guys will use every report in there. And we'll talk a little bit more about what they all are and what they do a little later. But if you don't give them access to a specific report, they will not even be able to see it. So if there's only like 3 reports they need to pull, then you can go and just give them permission of those 3, and they won't have to search through the entire list of reports. Because you notice there are plus signs out to the left of all of these categories. There are
Oh no.
of each one. So it'll take time for you guys to find the reports that you like the best and pick those. But I can guarantee you probably don't want to give them access to every single one because it's very overwhelming and it's hard to remember which ones they need to pull. So it really allows you to kind of even limit what they see on there. Okay, now let's save that group real quick, and you guys can make as many changes as you need to later. And let's go up to where it says new user and see how simple it is to put in a new username. Anywhere in the system that you see bolded fields, like first name, last name, group name, those are required fields, and anything not bolded is optional. You can track as much or as little as you need to. So you would just put in their name, you would assign them to one of those groups, and then create a username and password for them.
Create yours.
Now, email's optional. If you guys aren't going to be using the email or the email alerts, it's pointless to put it in there unless you just want it for informational purposes. But that's really useful if you're using the email settings. When you're creating passwords for yourself or for anyone else that might be logging in, anyone that is going to be logging in on the mobile device, you cannot have any symbols in your password. If you have an asterisk, exclamation point, an @ symbol, anything like that, the mobile device will not let you log in. It doesn't like them for whatever reason. That's the way it's designed. So just be sure to stick with alpha and numeric characters only. And just let everybody else know when they're setting up their passwords to do the same if they're going to log in to the mobile device.
Okay.
So usernames are not case sensitive, but passwords are. So just keep that in mind as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now click close there. And so you added Jenna there to the Florida group. Does Jenna need more privileges than that?
I think
Is she going to be an admin?
I think I'll probably be an admin. I
Yeah.
probably shouldn't have added it there, huh?
That's okay. You can just go right up to the top where it says edit. And that's how easy it is to fix stuff. And just change that group name right there.
Oh.
So So it's super easy to move people to different groups, to edit their username. And if you are an admin, you can edit other users' passwords. So if they get locked out, they forget how to get in, you can just jump in here, edit their password temporarily, and then they can go to the file button in the main screen and change their own password later. So you guys really have control to do whatever you need to as long as you're an admin. Okay, so for the sake of time, let's close out of this little section and just remember you guys can come in here and be as specific, add as much as you want to. So you also have the ability to import into here, since you guys were doing manual counts. I guess you don't have any sort of a spreadsheet or anything that you're wanting to use. Is that accurate?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay.
We're working
Okay.
on it.
So we'll talk then about manually setting stuff up. Honestly, I like manually setting stuff up because I don't have to go necessarily in a really specific order, whereas importing really does limit you, and you have to be very specific on how you put your stuff in. So if you don't already have a spreadsheet that's ready to go, it's not worth trying to create one. So let's go to the far left-hand panel where it says New. And when you click on New, you're going to see all of the new stuff you could add. So the first thing that we need to talk about is your site. So I mentioned that word when we were talking about those groups. Your sites are basically going to be your different buildings where you have your product. Then you have what's called a location, and locations are anywhere inside of each building where you would actually store those products. So we do have to set up your sites first and then add locations to them. So let's go ahead and stick with the site. And go ahead and name one of those warehouses. It could be the FL warehouse, just like you had before.
Blank
If that's how you want to name it.
Blank warehouse, yeah.
And description is optional if you need to add anything else there. If the
Pretty
name of it,
self-explanatory.
It is what it
they're
is.
good. So we can just click save, and you can immediately put a second one in if you want to go ahead and add that second site. So anytime that you're putting new stuff in the system, just kind of so you're aware and don't panic later,
Events.
anytime you click save, it
Event.
clears it out immediately
Event
just to allow you to keep working and keep working. So don't get panicked if you don't see something populate in a list right away. Those things will show up after you close the little new box here.
Okay.
Okay, now let's go to new again, and let's do new locations. And go ahead and pick one of those sites on your menu now. So again, locations are any place inside of this warehouse where you have stuff. It could be a shelf number, it could be a room number, it could be a storage bin number, whatever it is that you have separating all of your different areas in this warehouse, that is what you would want to name your location.
A1.
Some people give their location the same exact name as their warehouse because they just want to know that it's in there somewhere, and they don't care about what
We know it's in there somewhere.
people have huge warehouses and have their shelves. Other people have little tiny warehouses, and they're like, I just want to know that it's here somewhere. That's it.
We have both of those.
Do you guys have a lot of shelving? Do you have
Yes.
that numbered already?
Yeah, we're going to break it down. We've already discussed how we're going to break both of the warehouses down and how it's going to be, broken down into different locations, different bins, if you will.
Let's go ahead and add at least 2 locations per site, just so we have something to look at and navigate through as we go through the training. And then come back in here and add as many as you want to when we're all done.
Oh, so you can actually do description.
Yeah, so you could say row A, shelf 1, or however it is, whatever A1 means to you, and spell it out so that you actually see what A1 means.
That's good.
But I like that you named your location that because you can print location labels, and if you give them really long names, those location barcodes get really, really big, and they don't fit on your label. So I like little names, and then I like to spell it out more specifically in the description if I need to.
Okay.
So that's perfect what you guys are putting in there.
Oh, 2.
All right, so we added 2 per.
Okay, so go ahead and click close. And just so you can see how to see those later. We're going to go to our list icon on the far left, and this is your list of all your different stuff. Go into location, and you'll see 2 locations per warehouse now. You can come right into your list as well and go to the new button in here and add new stuff right from your list. There's no right or wrong. I just like to show that people can do it either way, whatever makes sense to you.
Okay.
Oh, you can do it right from here?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep, you can do new, you can edit, you can duplicate one and then just change some details about it. You can also delete locations later if you need to, as long as you don't have any inventory inside of them.
No.
So it will give you an error if you have inventory. It'll tell you you have to get rid of that inventory first, and then you can delete them. So if you guys ever need to, relocate or renumber them somehow, you can do that. Now,
Okay.
I mentioned you can print location labels. If you have a lot of shelving, that is extremely helpful. So on the mobile device that we're going to look at much later in the training, like right towards the end, you guys, every time you add more inventory or move it around or get rid of it, you are always selecting the location you're putting it, the location you're taking it from, every single time. So if you print location labels, instead of searching through your list of locations to pick the one that you want, you can scan the item,
Awesome.
the location, put in your quantity, and you're done.
Awesome.
So hold down the shift button on your keyboard and then select the very last location here, and I'll show you what those labels look like. Do you see the big print labels button there at the top right? Go further to the right. There's one that's specifically to print labels.
Oh.
Yep, click on that. Click that preview checkbox. And this is what we may get errors on a little later, since you don't have the new version installed. Go ahead and click OK, and let's see if it gives us the preview this time. So you see it has your site, it has your location with the barcode. Now this is just the template that comes with it. The font can be changed, the sizing of it can be changed. We can shift the barcode however you want to. But this gives you kind of an idea at least of what data is pulled into that label. You can stick those on your shelves and then they're easily scannable as you guys are going through everything. Okay, so we'll look again at editing labels and stuff like that a bit later, but that is what the preview will look like, and you could just print them right from here as well. Okay, so let's close this list, and let's go back to new again, and let's go to item, and let's pause right here and talk about some of this stuff. So typically what you guys will be adding all the time is going to be inventory items. Inventory is, the difference in an item and your inventory is that your item is your actual good or product that you're tracking. It's going to be each type of shirt, each type of pant, each type of whatever it is that you're tracking. And then your inventory is how many of each of those you have. It's your quantity. Okay, so typically what you're adding is inventory items because you want to know how many you have. Non-inventory would be anything that you might want to add to an order, a purchase order, a pick order, but you don't keep track of how many you have in stock. And if you guys aren't doing orders, then you'll probably never add a non-inventory. Same thing with service. That was just a service that you provide to your customer that you can charge them for, but obviously you don't have a quantity for a service. And then kits and assemblies we'll kind of go through a little bit later, but that is a way to kind of do some package deals. So if your customers ever order some kind of package from you, and every time they order this package, they get the same exact things in that package, then we can set those up as kits. You can also build things in-house, which would be an assembly or a pre-packaged product. Do you guys have anything like that, like package deals that you guys ship out or anything?
No.
Okay, so, and I will say the majority of our customers don't use those. It's very rare, so we probably won't go into much about that. So let's go into inventory item. That's the most common, that's the popular one, and that's probably what all of your stuff will be. So we chose to manually put in our item numbers whenever we add our items. So if if you guys have one handy for one of your types of clothing, then let's go ahead and put in a real item here, and that way you have a little something in your system to start with.
Order like 5,000.
300 and 284. 3284.
And this is why I love to work in your software during the training, because we actually can put real stuff in here and get you guys started at least a little bit. Perfect. Now, you see next to that is an alternate item number. That would just be a secondary lookup number if you had one. Some people will use that for like a UPC barcode that is already on the product when they get it, or something like that. If you have a secondary one, put it in. If you don't, then just skip it.
No. We're
Then
done.
we do want to put it in description, because this number doesn't mean anything to us if we don't know what it's for. So let's go ahead and put in, that right there. Perfect. Now, so it looks like somebody renamed this particular field. So I guess maybe Ricardo, as you were playing around with it, or whoever it was that was playing around with it, you learned how to edit field names, because this particular field is not technically called item, it's called category. So if you click on the word item to the left, that's another setting that we mentioned to edit field names. So it's going to be set. Did you guys have a reason for changing this one to item
Yeah, because
instead of category?
we wanted to use it like for what type of item it is. Let's say this one is a polo shirt, so we would use as item, we would put the
Okay,
polo.
so it's for the same thing then. Category is basically for the same thing, the category that it's in. So that's fine. You can call it whatever you want to. So click OK here if we want to keep it at item. Now, it's a completely blank drop down until you add to it. So let me talk to you real quick about this drop down, because it's really important. This category or item drop down is not a list all on its own. So we saw under lists all the different things we can add. There is not a list for category. That being said, we can add as many of them as we want to, but we can't go to the list later and edit them or delete them. So as you're adding things to this drop down, be sure that you spell them correctly. Be sure they are typed in exactly how you want them to look before you add that to the list.
Okay.
So you can add whatever you want to, but you cannot edit or take away from it.
We have to add it right there, right?
No, we don't do anything else here, because that's just the name of the field.
No, I mean,
You're going to add those things in the blank box next to it, into the field.
We can add it
So
right
you
there.
could type in polo or polo shirt or whatever you want it to be called. Just make sure you type it in how you want it to look before you click enter or tab.
That's okay.
When it is in there how you want it, click enter or tab to save it to the drop down. No, don't save this yet. No.
Okay, you didn't let her.
Uh-oh.
Okay, let's go back to the general tab, and let's slow down just a little so we can talk about all this. Okay, so open up the item drop down now. Okay, so it's in there in your drop down now. So the next time you add a different type of polo, you can select it from your drop down. It is very important that you do open any drop down before you try to type into a field, because if something is already in there, you want to select it. Because if you try to type in polo again, maybe somebody types it in and they accidentally spell it with 2 L's. Well, it's going to think that it's a new item, and it's just going to add it, and now you have one with 1 L and one with 2 L's, and you can't get rid of anything from that list. So just be very mindful of that anytime that you see a drop down anywhere in the system. Open it up first, see if what you need is in there, and then if it's not, type in whatever it is that you want to add. Same thing with manufacturer, but manufacturer is a list all on its own, so it can be edited. You can delete manufacturers later. So you guys have already added the one. And then below that, you have your track by information. So if you track this particular type of shirt by a serial number or a lot number when you receive it, a pallet that you get it on, or a date code, then you can choose to track by these different data. Now, when you get this item in stock and you're adding it to your inventory, you would have to fill in anything that you require right there. Anytime you move it, anytime you check it out, anytime you remove it, you'd have to put in that data. So it does allow you to be more specific, and it also does require that you put in more information every single time you do anything with it. Do you guys have any type of items that you would be tracking by any of these 4 things that you see here? I'm sure clothing probably doesn't have serial numbers on them, but do you get them in like a big lot or a big pallet that has an identifying number on it?
Not really.
Okay. And that it's easier if you don't, but some people are tracking like electronic equipment that does have those serial numbers and things that expire or things that might go out of stock or be discontinued or things like that. So they can easily go find the pallet of that item and get rid of them all.
Okay, we're gonna have to. Our office phone's battery is going dead. We're gonna have to call you from my cell phone.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's fine. You guys can just call right back in on that same line and use the same attendee ID and everything.
Okay. What?
Let's look at the phone number here.
You might need to just stop sharing your screen real quick.
Oh, okay.
So that you can go back to like the WebEx stuff, and then there's a tab in your WebEx that says Event Info, and there's the number on there, the access code, and your attendee ID would all be on that tab.
Great.
And I'm going to pause the recording for just a second until you guys are back so we don't have that gap in there.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up now.
Okay.
It's always on charge. That's probably why the battery life is not good.
Welcome to WebEx. Enter your access code or meeting number followed by pound.
928 356 459.
Enter your attendee ID number followed by pound.
345 13. Oh, I have Sprint, by the way. I said, oh, I have Sprint. Excuse me.
Should work right
Are you
away.
guys back on?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are.
Oh, this is the new phone? Okay, just want to make sure you weren't still working with it. Okay, so if you want to go right back up there and share your screen again.
Where?
Go here. Share. Sorry. My screen. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So you've already added your manufacturer. We talked about the track buys. If you don't need to add all those details, then we will skip them. Now, right below that, those other requirements is something that any user that's adding them or removing them would have to fill out depending on the function. So the very first two there, the reference number and supplier. When you're adding inventory to your stock, you get more in. You can require that a reference number of some sort be filled in for that particular order. So maybe it's a PO that you purchased those with, and you would have to put in that PO number when you add those to your inventory, or the supplier that you actually purchased them from. And then you also have the customer requirement. The customer would be required when you remove your inventory. So if you want to track exactly the person that you gave each piece of clothing to, then you can require that as well.
Now, when I do my checkouts for our events, would that be like I could put in, Florida swimming and diving?
Now, checkout is totally separate.
Okay.
It's not a permanent removal.
Okay.
So a checkout, you have to record who you give it to during a checkout. So
Okay.
it's already automatically required. So this right here would just be required when you remove it, which means it is gone permanently. You're not getting it back. It's been sold. It's been trashed. It's something. It's gone. So if you want to track each person that it was removed to after it's been sold, then you can require that.
No.
So even if you don't require it, it is optional when you go through those steps. All three of these things will be optional, but you can decide if you want to make it a requirement just by checking the box. Okay, so it looks like you guys just hid all the fields for cost and price and whatnot, and that's fine if you guys don't want to track that. Those are really helpful, again, if you're using purchase orders and pick orders. Now, minimum stock level on the right does allow you to say, okay, I want to make sure I have at least 10 of these at all times. But you'll have to also put something in maximum stock if you do that. So you'll have to make that field visible again because it has to be bigger than your minimum. So go ahead and click on that and then make it visible. Okay, so put in a minimum if you do have one for this particular shirt here. And then we can make the maximum as high as you want it. What is the total you would ever possibly have?
Well, there's really only, because there's so many different colors of polos. I mean, our minimum would be one because.
No, this one is white navy in particular.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many different colors that we only get X
So you just
amount.
want to be alerted basically when you're out of stock.
Okay.
So that's fine. Yep. So then put your maximum at however high you would ever have it. And then we don't have to save it yet. And we're not going to worry about pre-order quantity because we're not going to be doing any orders. Now, at the top, there are lots of other tabs, and that's why I didn't want to save it yet because there's a lot of stuff we can do in here first. So the location settings tab allows you to track multiple locations where you would store this particular type of polo. So if you store some at Warehouse 1 and some at Warehouse 2, you can also
that
set
one would
a
be next
minimum
door.
stock per warehouse. So do you guys want to know when you have only one total amongst all of them, or do you want to make sure you have at least one at each different warehouse?
One
Here.
here, yeah. So we're inventory controlling here.
Okay. So do you have a primary location where you store this polo?
Then the event warehouse.
Okay. So if you set up a primary, and it's optional to do it, you guys could skip this tab totally if you don't care. But if you do set up a primary for any of your items, then anytime you're adding stock in, that primary is going to pull in for you. It just saves you a little bit of time. And as you move things around and whatnot, you'll be able to see what the primary one is because it'll be at the top of your list. So it can be helpful. It can be a time saver if you want to set it up, but it's not necessary. If you just need a minimum of one total, then you could skip this tab completely.
Okay.
Do you guys want to add one or skip?
Well, we don't know exact location, the exact portion it's going to be in the warehouse. I mean, I know where it is, but.
Yeah, that's fine. So later, as you guys are setting up all your other ones, just so you know, you can select the site, you can select exactly which location you'll typically store it in. Then you could track a minimum per location if you wanted to. So if I want to make sure I have at least one at Warehouse 1 and at least one at Warehouse 2, then I could actually create both of those locations in here and set the minimum at one for each of those. Again, totally
Now that would
optional.
be under site, right? Because that's the site is the warehouses and the location is the A1, A2.
Yep, so you'd pick site, Warehouse 1, location, whatever. Then you'd add another line for Warehouse 2 and whatever location in there you
Okay.
store it.
All right.
Okay, so let's go ahead and navigate to the additional tab at the top. And you guys might not use this too much. Oh, you know what? Sometimes it gets us stuck if we try to add this and then we stop. Try to delete that line by right-clicking on the little pencil to the left. And then try to navigate over to additional. There we go. Okay, so you guys might not care about adding dimensions and all of this stuff. You could rename one of these to like size, and you could track the size of this in here.
Size.
But if you also put that in your description,
Yeah, they're right
your
here.
description already said it, then
Adult
it's kind of
small.
like doing double work by
Yeah,
adding
no.
another field because your description says it's a small.
There's actually one on
so it's up to
custom
you.
text as well. If you when we get
I'm
there.
sorry, I can barely hear you in the background.
On custom text, I already added the size feature, but the description,
Okay.
I'm not
okay.
sure what's gonna have just
Okay.
yet.
That's fine as well. Okay, so manage suppliers allows you to track any supplier that you might purchase this shirt from. So if you have a default supplier you usually go through, we can add them as your default. And then you could list anybody else that you might go through if your default is out of stock and you need to order them from somewhere else.
That would come in handy for you, right?
For what?
That would come in handy for you. I mean, we get all the event stuff from one location, but don't you get different things? Or does it really matter?
Yeah, but I wouldn't be ordering them.
Yeah, you don't do the
More
ordering.
for like Brittany and them probably.
No, but when
And
you
yeah, and
check them
again, you
in.
guys, you may not, or you may or you may not care about putting it all in here, but this comes in handy again when you're creating purchase orders in the system because these suppliers and all their information can automatically pull into your purchase order and save you time. If you're not going to use that, maybe it's more work than it's worth to put all of this in here, but again, it's up to you, just so you kind of can see everything you could do in here if you wanted to.
I don't think we need to. And move on to a
Do you guys want to add one in here and just kind of see how that works?
No, we're not going to use it. We don't do POs here. They do that at headquarters and they use their own system.
Okay, then let's go ahead and navigate over to attachments. You guys can upload as many documents, files, etc. that you want to for each of your items. So if you want to upload any types of pictures or purchase orders, anything like that, you can do that. Just upload it right from your computer. The picture tab right next to that, it just allows for one default image. So if you wanted to upload a picture of what that particular polo looks like, then that's where you would put the default.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, right next to that is custom text. And you guys already set up several of these custom texts here, and you marked them as required.
Yeah.
So every time you put an item in, you will have to fill in each of these fields.
Yes.
And all you have to do, if you don't have anything in your drop-down menus yet, all you have to do is type into those and start creating
No,
a
I
drop-down.
already added that. Yeah.
Oh, you've already added a lot. Perfect. So yeah, go ahead and fill out these fields for this item that we're adding. Since they're all required, we'll have to go ahead and put something into each one of them.
Which one was it?
White.
White something.
White navy. I think.
White navy. Was it small or?
It's a
extra?
small.
2016. Polyester. Jensen, yeah. And Alabama.
Okay.
No, she doesn't want me to save it yet.
Almost. We're almost there. And then, of course, you guys just see there's another tab for custom numbers and dates. So if you had any type of number or date you needed to track, that's there as well. So custom text looks like you guys already figured out how to do that. So now we can save it. I always say don't save because then we have to just find it again, open it back up, and keep going through tabs. It's easier just to go through them all at one time. Okay, so again, it cleared it out so that we could immediately add another one if we wanted to. So for the sake of time, let's just close this one, and we're going to navigate to finding your items later. So let's go to List on the left, and then look at your list of items.
Woohoo! We got one.
Yes. So all of those details we filled in are all in there in all different columns. There is a lot of stuff you can do with this list. You can reorganize it in several different ways, and every user that logs in, they can have their list organized however they want it to look. So first, you can hide any columns that you don't care about. So if we scroll to the right and we see any columns that we're not filling in that are totally blank, there's a bar at the bottom to scroll with. So supplier name, alternate item number, on order and committed, you guys will probably never use because that is for purchase orders and pick orders. So if you right-click on one of those column headers, you can simply hide the column. And so you can do that for anything you guys are not going to use. And if you ever want to get a column back later, you decide to start doing some more stuff in here, and yeah, maybe we're going to try this order thing, then just go up to the button at the top that says Hidden Columns.
Hidden column.
Sorry, I was still hiding.
Oh, there, the same menu. There you go.
And then you'll see any columns that you've hidden right here. So your custom fields are hidden by default. So you can scroll to them. You can find any custom fields. Looks like maybe you guys already pulled them in.
Yeah.
And you can put them right into your list. So nothing's ever gone completely. If you hide stuff, you can always bring it back. Yeah, so close that little box there. You can drag and drop these columns in a different order, so you can reorganize what order they're in. Just make sure those red arrows are visible before you let go of it, or it'll pop right back to where it was. So just, scroll and reorganize. And again, each person can put it in whatever order they want to. In order to ensure that your view populates when you log in, you do need to save the view. So after you spend the time hiding things and reorganizing things and getting it looking just how you want to, do not close your list out without saving it, or you'll be really frustrated when you have to do all of that work over again. So let's go up to that Views button at the far right. And let's go to Save As. And you can save as many views as you want to. So even if Ricardo has 3 different views that he might need to load at some point, he can have 3 different views. So you would just give each view a name so you know what the view is for, and then you could set one of those as your default view. And that default view would load every time you log in and pull up your list. If you do create other views, you can also make those visible to the other users, so they could just load your view and they wouldn't have to spend the time reorganizing it.
Yeah, that's really what we would do.
Share all that work.
Exactly what we're gonna do.
That would be very nice.
Yeah.
To share.
Just help each other out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can cancel that, and so I know you guys are logged in as the admin now. So as each of you log in under your username, just be sure to fix it up and save it how you want it. Now you can also resort your list by any of these columns. It's going to be hard to see it with just one item in here, but you can just click on one of those column headers and it will resort it for you. So if you resort it by item, which is your polos or your t-shirts or whatever it is, then it would put all the polos together. It would put all the other kind of shirts together, all the pants together. So you'll notice that the little arrow is inside the column that you're sorting by, and you can either put it in ascending or descending order. So it does allow you to kind of find something a little faster if you just sort it a different way. Now at the very bottom there is a search box. That search box will search every single field that is in the system, even if it's hidden. So it's going to look at all the fields you filled in and try to find whatever you've typed in there. So sometimes that can still bring up a lot of results and not really let you narrow down to something specific. It can be helpful if you just say, I want to find my polos, and you type in polos, and all your polos would show up right here. Now, if you want to search for something really specific, I just want to search for a specific manufacturer or a specific item, then you can go up to the filter button at the top left, and you can pick which field you want to search into. So you can pick one of those custom fields. I want to see everything that's red, and you could choose to search by the color red, and then it would show all of the stuff that you have that's red. And that allows you to drill down a little bit more specifically.
Okay.
All right, and then once you pick a field, you can use the little magnifying glass under value and see what options you have in that field. Now, alternate item number was blank, but it would pull up, if you're searching by like category or item, it would show all of the items or categories that you have in your system so far.
Got it.
So this will get bigger. The filter and the search will be a lot more helpful when you guys have, hundreds of items in here
Yeah,
and you've
we
got
found
a
it.
full list of
Thousands.
stuff.
Yeah, we'll have lots.
Thousands.
Yeah, thousands. I think the most I've ever seen was like 19,700 something in one person's database. So yeah.
I don't think we'll have that many. Hopefully not.
Maybe half that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to to actually get it all in there. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Now, at the very top, you can add brand new items right from here. You can edit any existing items. You can delete items as long as you don't have any inventory attached to them. So right now, all we did was create our item. We didn't add any quantities yet. We're going to do that next. And then you can duplicate an item as well. So if you need to create another polo shirt that I need it to be white navy in a size medium, I could duplicate this. I could change the item number, change the small to a medium, and save it immediately again.
Okay.
So it saves you time
Where's
as
the
you're creating
duplicate?
things that are very
Next to
similar.
delete.
Oh.
So it pulls up all of the other fields you've already filled in except for the
Oh.
item number, and all you have to do is change the details that are different.
Okay.
Just be sure you jump to your custom text and change any identifying stuff there as well, since you guys have so much stuff in your custom text. You'd want to change that to an adult medium as well.
Okay.
But if all the other stuff is the same, you would just leave it, so you don't have to fill that in over and over again.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you can close that if you don't want to save the other one.
Not right now, no.
No.
Okay, now you also see at the top here, there is a button to print and a button to print labels. So again, two very different buttons. The print button just allows you to print your list, just like you see it. So if you've hidden a lot of columns and you want to print your list after you hide the columns, it will just print what columns are shown here.
Good.
The print labels, obviously, is how you're going to print the label for each of your items, just like we saw earlier with the location label. Go ahead and click on that.
Probably
Since
won't
we
work.
haven't installed the version 7.2, I'm not going to be surprised if here in a little
It
bit we
won't
don't
work.
get a preview
Yeah.
anymore.
It doesn't work after the first try.
Yeah, it doesn't.
That's why we need that update.
It was a
ASAP.
bug, and that's why they released the patch for it, so it'll be better after that. That's okay, though. We can preview those in our labeler here in just a little while, so we're not going to be stuck completely.
Right.
Now, you also see that there's lots of functions at the top, like checkout, check-in, move, add, remove. You can do all of those from your list if you want to. You can also do those from the main screen. So I'm going to have you close out of your list and show you how to navigate from the other screen as well. The big inventory button right here in the middle, this is how you manage your inventory. So we added our items, now we want to go and manage our inventory of those items. So you see all the functions displayed here. You guys will probably never assemble anything, so we won't need to worry about that. That's to build something in-house. And then we're also going to look a little later at how to do all these on the mobile device. So right now we'll just focus on how to do it right here from the PC. Now, do you know for sure how many of those polos that we just added that you have in stock?
Not right at this very moment.
Well, I have those.
Okay, so I don't
Oh,
want
for
to
Alabama?
add any
But that dep-
test stuff to your
Let's not
database
get into that.
because it will store in your history forever. So I don't want your history or your reporting to get messy. So I'm actually going to show you guys how to access our sample company, and we're going to do all the transactions in the sample company so we don't mess up your data.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go to the file button at the top left and log off of this one. And then check that little Use Sample Company box there at the bottom. It's that easy. Click OK to get into it. There's no password for the sample company. Click OK again. You have a fully functioning database that has a bunch of random stuff already in it, and we can do whatever we want to in here, and it will not mess up your stuff. So if you guys ever want to practice, be sure to log in here to do it. Okay, let's start with the add function at the far left. There's a big plus sign on it because it's going to increase your quantity. Removing has the big minus sign because it decreases your quantity. So when you're doing something from the computer, we have to filter and find what it is that we want to add inventory to. So open this up. Let's go to the option that says more to see the full list. A little bit towards the bottom. Yep. And that just generates your list of items so that you can pick exactly which one you want to use. Let's go kind of towards the bottom where it says pencil. I like to use the pencil because it's not being tracked by a serial number or anything like that, and you guys aren't tracking anything by that either. So this will be more similar to your shirt. So go ahead and double click on the pencil to select it, and that will just pull the item number in. It pulls in the description. And since we have a primary location set up, it pulled in a location for us. But if that is not the location that we want to store our pencils in, then we need to change it here because that's where the system is going to tell us it is. But it pulls in if you take the time to set those up. Then we want to add whatever quantity we're putting on our shelf. So let's just change the quantity to 50. So we have 17 to begin with, and we're going to go ahead and add 50. You can just highlight that and type into it. Those arrows take a while to get up to 50. Now, I want you to notice what happens to the next box when you tap down into number of labels. Go ahead and click into number of labels.
It automatically comes
up. You see I'm
up.
trying to update it to 50. If you don't want to print a label for each individual pencil or each individual shirt, then be sure to change that to 0. Because you guys might just have one label that you just stick on your shelf next to the shirt, and just so you can
That's what
scan
I
it
was
every
thinking.
single
If we
time.
just put a label on the outside of the box and I scan it, because
can
things
do
get
that,
taken
yeah.
out of the package, the barcodes are going to get lost. They go to events and they come back. It would make more
You-
sense to have one label on
I
the
thought
box.
about that too, but Mr. Randy wanted each and every one of them
Okay,
to be labeled.
it's not going to work, but okay.
And I'll say,
Mr.
you know,
Boss.
I guess that the biggest thing with using a new system is kind of trial and error, finding the best process for you guys.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I've seen people use this system 100 different ways. So there's really no right or no wrong. Try something out, see if it works, try something else. I've even seen people, so kind of in your situation especially, things are getting taken out of boxes, thrown in boxes get thrown away when they're empty and then the label's gone. I've even seen people carry a binder with all their labels in it. So especially if they're at an event, they have their binder, they have all their labels in their binder, and they can scan each different one. So find what works for you, and don't stress too much about it, because there's a lot of different things that you can change and make it work. But just another suggestion to think about. So let's go ahead and change number of labels to 0 or to 1, however many you would want to print. We're not going to print any right this second anyway. And then you're not going to be tracking costs, so it'll just pull in at a 0 for you guys. You're not worried about that. Then to the right, we could track the supplier we got these from. We could track the reference number used to purchase them. If we bought these for a specific customer, we could track that. But none of those fields are required because I still can click the add button right now. If I had marked any of those as required, that add button would be grayed out. I'd have to fill in the other information. So go ahead and click add to add the 50. Then you'll see a couple of differences. Right next to the add button is a number 1 because we have one pending transaction right now. At the very bottom, we can now print a receipt as we add those in if we need to print something that shows everything we added. And we could print labels. So even if I forgot to change my 50 labels to 0 and I kept it at 50, I could just make sure this box is not checked and it's not going to print labels anyway. So don't be too concerned. Oh, it's just going to automatically spell out 50 labels because I messed up. Don't worry, it won't unless that box is checked. Now, what it does is basically keep this as a pending transaction so that you can work quickly and keep adding other items into your inventory as well. Then, before you actually commit it all to your database, you can double check your work up in the pending transaction list towards the top. You see that little tab there? And everything you've added would be sitting here, and you could check, make sure you entered your quantity right, make sure your location is right, because if it's not, you have a lot of editing of stuff you'll need to do afterwards, because there's no undo feature in here. There's no edit of my quantity. There's an adjustment we can make, but it still makes your history look a little messy because everything you do stores in your history. So that's why it allows you to kind of work real fast and then take a second just to review what you did. Now, go back to the data tab real quick, and let me tell you what these little red thumbtacks are for. So if you're going to be adding a lot of pencils, and I need to add some to this location, I need to put some in my other warehouse and some in a different warehouse, then I could pin down the item number. I could pin down the quantity if it's going to be the same for each location. I could pin down anything that's going to stay the same. And then whatever's not pinned down would clear out for me, so I could immediately take the next location, add that, pick the third location, and add that. And then just like that back to back, I would have added my pencils to 3 different locations. So those are really handy, especially when you're sitting here trying to add all these details for lots of different things. Use those pins anytime you can. There's a button at the bottom to pin all, and anything that can be pinned will be pinned down. So that's really helpful, especially if you're serializing anything, because the serial number cannot be pinned. So you can pin everything and then just enter each serial number back to back real fast. Okay, so let's go ahead and commit the pencil. And let's jump real quick back to our list of items, just so I can show you the update there. We have 217 pencils. Now, where's our pencil? I think it's one right below that. Yeah, there we go. So we have 267 now. Now, this item list, remember, it's just each individual product is listed one time, and you see a total amount of what you have. Now, let me also explain what these 3 columns right here are for. The total available, I have 267 available. That's the total amount of pencils I have across all my locations, even if somebody's borrowing some right now. The total checked out is how many I have out right now to an event or out on loan. And then the total in-house is my total available minus my total checked out would give me how many are sitting in-house right now that I can use. So the total in-house would tell you how many you have available to send out to events. Okay, so that's what those 3 different quantity columns are pulling in right there. Now, let's close this list. And remember, inventory is totally separate. Let's go back to list, and let's look at our inventory list. Your inventory list will list each item, each location that it's sitting. If you're tracking a pallet number, lot number, serial number, all of those details will be in here, and the quantity that's sitting inside of each place. So there's our pencils there. We have all 267 of them in A1D right now at Warehouse 1. So here in a second, we are going to move some of those to a different warehouse. Actually, we can do it right from here while we're in our list. Let's click the Move button at the very top. And we're going to see in this list how it updates it and separates this 267. So we're moving it from the A1D, and then pick where we want to move it to. We're just going to open that drop down, pick a different location. You can always click on More to see all your whole list. And let's move some to a Warehouse 2 location. And it doesn't matter which one, they're all fake. And you can double click on one of those to select it. And then it shows you the maximum number that you could move from A1D. A1D has 267 in it. We can pick however many we want to move. Let's move 50 of them. So if I accidentally did add them to the wrong place, all I'm going to do is move them to the right place. It's real simple to fix that. And then click Move, and it's that easy. It's going to be pending until we officially commit that. And then in our list behind there, we can see now 2 lines, 50 in A1 at Warehouse 2, 217 in Warehouse 1 at A1D. So that's kind of hopefully a better visual of the difference in items and inventory. Your inventory is really into your count per location. Okay, let's close this list. And let's go ahead and talk about Let's use that next function to check out. And so this can be helpful if you guys are taking it to an event. When you check out, you have to pick the customer it's going to. You could list different events as customers. You could list different employees as customers, so you know who took them to the event. You can just, a customer can be anything you want it to be. Go ahead and go into more, and you can do it that way as well. But if you go into more, you can see if your customer's in there already, and then you can click new right in here. So you guys will be adding to this. It's going to be easy to forget, did I add that or not? So you can just go to more, see anything that's in here, and then click the new button right there.
Can I search this?
I'm sorry?
Can I search this?
Filter.
There's not a search box in here. There is a filter, though.
Okay.
You could filter the list
Because we
to
do-
find out. This is the only one we have right now, but
We
you could
basically do the
filter
same
in
events
case
every
this
year.
list gets really long, then yes.
Okay.
So if you click new, you'll see the different information that you can add for your customer. Again, use the term customer very lightly. You can put your employees in here and check those shirts out to your employees, and then when they return, check them right back in. So customer number is a required field. It doesn't necessarily have to be a number. You could put a name in there, but the customer number field can never be duplicated. So if you're going to use names, I would use a first name and last name, and hopefully you don't have two people that have the same exact name. Otherwise, just put in a name that you want to add. And that's all you have to put in here if that's all you want to put in here. But you see there's lots of other stuff we could add if we needed to. So let's just save this one for the sake of time. And since we're in the sample anyway, I wouldn't spend too much time putting a lot of stuff in the sample that you're just going to have to redo later. And let's select them as our customer. So you can double click on them, or you can use the select button at the bottom. Now we want to pick the item that we want to check out to them. Let's just open the list and stick with our pencils so that we can see everything we've done to them a little bit later. And now we have them in two different locations, so we have to pick the location that we're taking them from. So you want to make sure, because that's going to update your quantity for that particular area. And then let's go ahead and enter the quantity that we want to give to this particular customer. And you see the maximum there that you can do. So you can't ever go over your maximum. It puts it there so you can't even, accidentally mess up. And it won't let you save it if you try to go over your maximum. Now to the right, the only difference here is that we can also pick a due date if we want to. So if we want to be alerted that we need to check those things back in at a certain time, then you can set up a custom due date. You can say, you know what, by the end of next week, I should be able to check these back in. So if they haven't been checked back in, I need to be reminded to do that. So even if it's not a real actual due date, this due date is what triggers the alert in your system to remind you to put them back in. So it could be helpful if you guys are going to use it. Otherwise, say no due date, and then you're not going to have any alerts for it at all. There's a notes box. You can always add additional notes if you need to, and then simply check it out when you're ready. And then go ahead and commit that. And let's again go back to your list of items, just so I can show you what's going on with your pencils when you check something out. So right there we see 50 under that checked out column. So we only have 217 total in-house that we can use right now. And again, this is still only showing us the full item, not just the inventory. Double-clicking on something allows you to edit it. So just so you're aware, this is going to pull up the details so you can edit it. Okay, so let's close this, and let's say, let's say that we sold 20 of those shirts. So we checked out 50 of them, we sold 20 of them, and so we really only have 30 left that we're bringing back. But anything in the system that's checked out ultimately has to be checked back in, so the system knows that you really either got rid of it completely or you returned it. So you have to check it back in order to do anything else with it. So we're going to check in 50 and immediately remove the 20 that we sold. So let's go ahead and select our pencil. The customer, as long as typically one customer has it, the customer will pull in for you. If we have these checked out to several different events right now, we're going to have to make sure we're picking the right one to check it back in from. Now, we're going to check back in all of them and immediately click check in. That's all we have to do. And commit. And I would immediately go to the remove option and remove the 20 that were sold. And you'll see that all these screens look just the same. Now we have to pick the location we're officially removing those from. And then put in the 20 that were sold. Now, it's not marked as a requirement to track the customer, but if you even want to put that same customer in there so you know which event you sold them at, then you could track your customer that way. Then later, you could go back and see, how many did I sell at this event? How many did I sell at this event over here? How many at that event that I went out to last month? Now, it's optional here, but if you
That
guys
would make
decide to
Andy's
do
job
that,
super
you could
much
make that a
easier.
requirement. And there is an awesome customer history report that you can pull later, and it will show you how much you sold at each of your events.
Yeah,
So it's another option.
our vice president's going to be happy about that.
Perfect. So remove this, and we're going to look at some of these reports in a little bit and kind of see all the stuff that we did so you can see what it looks like. And if you decide to mark that as a requirement, so you have to put in which event you sold them at, then you can do that as you set up each of your items.
Well, the event would be the customer. That's what I did, is I named the customer the event.
Perfect. Yes, so you could just track at least how many you sold at each event. You don't have to track it per person. Really, like I said, use customer however you want to, whatever makes your tracking better, because the more you put in here, the better your reporting is going to be later. Okay, so let's commit that removal. And while we're talking about it, let's jump over to that big reports tab there. And because one of my favorites in the big middle, yeah, there we go, is that customer history report in that top section. The very last one there. There you go. Double click on that. And these reports will pull in all of your history, all of your customers, all of your removals, your checkouts, your ads, everything. So it'll show down there the cheer customer. We checked out 50 to that event, and then we removed 20 afterwards, so we sold 20 of them. So you can see how many did I ship out to that event, and ultimately how many of those got sold. You can see that right here. We're not tracking costs, but you could if you wanted to, and you'd see the value of what you removed. You'd see how much money was sold as well if you wanted to track that. So this report is real nice. So it's going to show all of the steps that you took for each customer that you have or each event that you have. Now, while we're in a report, let's talk about some things you can do with these. You can filter these reports. Because they will get huge, the more that you put in your system, the more you track, these will get very large. So if you want to just see a specific customer and drill down and see everything you've done with that event, go up to that little funnel that's the very top of the screen, kind of in the middle section, right there. That's your filter. Uncheck that do not filter box, and let's search for field would be our customer. Because we want to look for a specific customer. And then the customer will equal, and then go to value, and let's search for cheer. Let's go to more. Again, use your drop down, because if you type something in wrong, it's not going to find it. And pick that one. Yep, because you have to type it in exactly like that. Just typing in cheer would not help you. And click add, and then click OK. And then it just pulls up that customer. Everything else disappears, so you can just focus on what all the transactions with that particular customer. So you see the dates they went out. You see the dates you came back from the event and put them back in, and then we sold 20 of them right there. You can also export these out. So if you need to save this as a PDF or an Excel file or anything similar, you can go to the very first button at the far left, and that is going to be your export button. Click on that, and be sure to always change the save as type. If you don't have the Crystal Reports program, You won't be able to open it, and then you'll be frustrated. So be sure to change that to whatever report style you guys need. And then it's on your computer, and you can do whatever you want to it.
Save it so you
Okay,
can see
cancel that.
how it looks like.
Oh.
Oh, if you want to save a sample, yes, you guys can do that. And then right next to that button is your print button. The Control P does not work inside of this program, so you do have to click that little printer to get it to print out. But when you do that, you can select what printer you want to print to and all of that good stuff. So you guys have control over that. Okay, let's close this one. And while we have this open, let me talk about some of the differences here. I mentioned earlier there's a ton of reports in here, probably 60-ish reports. There's no way you'll use every one of them. We have so many because everybody likes to see something a little bit differently. They like things sorted differently. So we tried to put a lot of options in here. These reports are pre-built. They cannot be customized. What is already in them is all that can be in them. So you will not find any custom fields in any of them because they're pre-built, and you just created the custom field. So you won't find those in here. Now your item reports are all your different items that you're tracking. Some of these will show you quantity, some of them will not, because they're really just focused on the details of your item. So these will all have some different details in them. If you want quantities and where they're at, then you want to go to your inventory section. So remember, we separate them here as well because they're two different things. So more commonly is this inventory section. I really like the inventory by location report because that separates each location out and shows me what is sitting in each little section of my warehouse. So let's double click on that one so I can show you what it pulls in. So it'll have the first site with the first location, all the items that should be sitting there, total available, total checked out, total in-house, just like we see it in our list. And each of those sites, each of those locations will be listed. You can filter this to find a specific site. You can filter it to find a specific location. You can filter it to find a specific item and see everywhere that item is stored. So there's lots of different filter options. So just don't forget that that filter is going to be different for every report. It just depends on the data that is inside of each one. You can filter by pretty much anything that's in here with some exceptions. So you'll want to familiarize yourself with each of the filter options and kind of play around with that. But this is a pretty popular report. This is one of the most common ones. People like to know where their stuff is and how much is in each place. So yeah, anytime you apply a filter, be sure to add it. If you don't add the filter, it's not going to put it into place. It'll just be the same. So you have to add that filter before you click OK. All right, so let's close this one out. And scroll down a bit more. I want to talk about this transaction section as well. These are your historical reports. As I mentioned earlier, everything you do in your system stores in your history. Even if I add and remove and check out all these items or inventory, then I delete that item later because I don't use it anymore. It's discontinued. I'll never get it again, so I deleted it. You'll still be able to see a history of everything you did with it in here. This stores all your history. And each different transaction is listed separately, so you can see all the checkouts, all the check-ins, all the removals. And you can go back and see a history of all that stuff. These reports will tell you what user was logged in at the time doing everything. So let's go down to the transaction history report, not the archived one, the one right below it. Kind of towards the bottom right now. There you go. And let's open that one up, and this will be your largest report. Every transaction you've ever done for every single item will be in here. So let's go to our filter first, because this is way too much information to go through. And let's go to our filter and let's find our pencil. And let's just see a history of the pencil. So uncheck that. We're going to look for an item. I don't remember the item number, though. Go to description. And let's go to more, and then find our pistols. They are in alphabetical order right there. Perfect. And double click and then add. Yep, and then click OK. So this is a great way to see a history of a specific item. So we see back in July of 2010, we audited it, and then everything else was the stuff that we did today. So we can see each step, and we see the username that was logged in over there doing all of these things with our pencil. So this is a great way to go and just see a history. If something ever comes up missing, damaged, in the wrong place, come up and look at a history of everything that's been going on with it, and you can kind of see who's been shuffling it around, who's been checking it out, things like that. Okay, so let's close this out. This is something, the report section is something that you guys will want to spend some time going through them, finding the ones you really like, and then as you're setting up those group permissions, I would only give those other groups permission to the specific ones that they need to pull, because then they won't have to scroll through all of this stuff and remember which ones they need to pull. They won't even see the ones they're not giving permission to. So it's really helpful just to shorten this list. Okay, now we are a little over halfway through your training. Would anybody like to take a quick restroom break, refill your drinks, anything like that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I will pause our recording, and I will be back. Let's take about 5 minutes, and I'll be right back on the call in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
This is going to be a full-time job on its own. understand, but having one person to help is going to be enough because our everyday, workings, our everyday business still has to go on. We still gotta have orders. I gotta have events. It's gotta go out. It's gotta come back. It's gotta, while we're trying to inventory. I don't know. I mean, we'll start with one and see if that works. But if we want it done quickly, more events go on, because in the meantime, I have the stuff out. It's hard to get a solid inventory. It takes a long time to do it. So I would say if it doesn't have events going out or that is out or that we have in a break, then start with that.
All right, guys, I am back and ready whenever you are.
Oh, you're going to the bathroom? I should probably pee.
Okay, we're ready.
Alrighty, let me get our recording going again. Alright, so now let's go ahead and navigate away from this report section. And I want to talk about, let's go back to inventory. And I want to talk about another function down here, which is the adjust feature. So, at any time, if you need to adjust your count, let's say you either find that some are missing, some are damaged, whatever it might be, there might be a time where you just need to update what your count is. And if you remove damaged items and you're tracking the customer you're removing them for, then you'd have to put something in that customer box. Now, you could create a customer just for damaged materials and remove it to that customer, or you could simply adjust your number and track the reason being damaged. So let's go ahead and select our pencils again and walk through this. And whatever location that we want to edit or adjust the numbers for, since they're in two places. Now you have the quantity, let's say we need to adjust, we got 10 broken pencils. Let's put a quantity of 10.
Oh.
Yep. Then you have those two options below that are really important. And we've seen that some customers sometimes either work too fast, they forget to change that particular section there. By count means that I am going to reset my total count to be only 10. So I would only have 10 left in stock in that location. If I want the system to deduct 10 or add 10 to my total, then I want to adjust by a difference of 10. And then the reason drop down will tell the computer if it needs to add or subtract those 10. And for whatever reason. You can say breakage, you could add notes, we found some with water damage on them because of a leak or whatever it might be. That way you know why you had to adjust that. But just keep in mind that no matter what reason you select, when you choose by count, it still resets it to whatever quantity you put in there. It's just saying, I reset it because of this. And by difference actually does that match for you. So just be very mindful of that when you're doing an adjustment. Make sure you switch that to the appropriate one. And then simply click adjust. And that pulls up on a totally different report. It's a transaction adjust report. And it would show you anytime you had to do an adjustment, the reasons you had to adjust your numbers, etc. So that can be really helpful to go back and see how many times you had to make those changes. And then just cut it in. So just as simple as the other ones, but the biggest difference is those two options right there that people bypass sometimes. Now, in a little bit, we're going to talk about that mobile device you guys purchased, and we're going to talk about how to do an audit when we get to that. I would never recommend doing an audit on the computer if you have a mobile device, because essentially you would have to go write down every item you find, come back to the computer, input each of those, and add what you found. There's a big room for human error anytime you're manually writing stuff down and whatnot. So the mobile device allows you to scan it, scan your location, enter the quantity. Scan the next one, scan the location, enter the quantity. It's very fast and obviously reduces a lot of human error. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. I do want to talk about labels, though. So we looked at a preview earlier. We got kicked out of the preview because we do need to update in a little while. But I want to show you how you can edit the font on your label, the size of your label, things like that. So let's navigate to the far left where it says label. And you're going to see some options in here. Your item label and your location label are pretty much going to be the ones that you guys would want to mess with. Since you guys aren't really tracking pallet and lot and all that, you really won't have to worry about those labels. Let's look at location label first, because we did see that your site was kind of hanging off the edge a little bit. There was some big font on there. So we'll look at that, and we'll make some changes. This program is also really user-friendly. If you've ever even worked in like Word or anything like that, you can kind of do the same things in here. So if you click on the label itself, like the barcode or the word site, you'll see that you can move this stuff around. You can stretch out those boxes. You can do all kinds of things in here. Now remember, your site name is going to pull in there, so it's going to cover up location. So the best thing to do before you start moving anything, go up to the print tab at the very top, and let's get a preview of what yours actually looks like first. Okay, so you see here the text box is kind of long for your site because you have a long name in there. That's okay, we can fix that. We've moved the barcode around a little bit and everything. If you had put in a description of your location, that would pull up next to the LOC right there. If you're not going to put in the description, you might get rid of LOC altogether. I mean, that's up to you if you don't want it sitting there. So let's go right back to the design tab. And I would recommend making the font size a little smaller for your site if you're going to keep LOC there. If you're not going to keep LOC there, then we can have the site name wrapped down to the second line instead of getting cut off on the edge.
When we go to print, isn't this the location?
Yep.
So yeah,
it's
we don't.
Your site name and then your location is A1.
Okay. So we don't need the location.
Some people choose to keep it there, but if you have a description in your location, remember we just named it. We didn't put a description. If you had also put a description, then it would spell out that description right next to LOC. That's what it's designed to do. But yours is blank because you didn't put one in. So if we want to wrap the site name down, because right now the site is still going to get cut off the edge. So if you want to basically put it on 2 lines, then we want to keep it towards the top. And over here in the far right-hand panel, this properties section, the very bottom, right-hand panel, go to the very bottom where it says auto size, and let's choose to wrap the text. That way it goes down to the second line, and then we need to expand out your site text box. So click on it again. Nope, click on the site text box, and then expand that out using the little corner, circle, there you go. And stretch it out to be the length of and 2 lines width, so, or height, I should say. Yep, and then you can jump right back to your preview and see what it looks like now. You can go and center that text. You can justify it differently.
Yeah,
There's lots of things you can do in here. Like I said, it's very similar to just fixing things in Word. You can center it.
That's better.
Yeah. So easy enough. Now, did you guys already purchase some labels, and do you know if they're this size, this 2x1 size?
Yeah, we have them right now on our label printer.
Perfect. Okay. So what I would do next is go to the File button and save your changes. And we're just going to save right over the template because this will become your new template now. So this is what will pull when you go to your list of locations to print these later. I always recommend doing your edits and your changes in here, and then I recommend doing your printing from your list because it's easier to pick the exact ones that you want to print out if you're in your list.
Right.
So you can print it from here if you want to, but at least, especially for your items, because there's going to be so many of them, it's really hard to pick and choose the exact ones that you want in here. You have to do a lot of filtering and things like that. It's just time consuming, in my opinion. Okay, so if we're good with this one, let's just close out of the labeler program completely with the X to the far right, and save your changes. And then let's go into item label next.
I had a couple of questions.
So we couldn't preview this one earlier because of that stupid bug.
I had a couple of questions here on the label,
Sure.
on the item label. I wanted to add one of the custom fields that I created, the custom text, and I wasn't sure how to change, for instance, the category. Let's say I changed it for item, for instance. I wanted to add, let's say, color, or change the actual fields that I'm showing here on the label to the ones that I custom created.
We can do that, but
Okay.
I also recall that you guys put the color and the size in your description, and that automatically prints on here as well. So I don't know if you want it on here twice or not.
Yeah, the thing.
But go up to the print tab, and let's look at that first, so you can see exactly what this is going to look like.
Yeah, that's the problem right
so
there.
This has. Go ahead.
That goes out of
So
the.
this has polo, it has white navy, it has adult small. So do you need, which other field do you need to put on there?
I just want to know how to add them because I'm not sure yet what the big boss would want on each of the labels, but I just want to make sure that I know how to add them. Yeah.
Okay, so go back to design, and let's click on a category. And on the far right-hand panel, under the properties, there's a little tab that says content.
Mm-hmm.
And then click on database.
Mm-hmm.
And you can choose which of the fields to pull.
Yeah, I saw that, but I
item
can't
list.
find the custom text there. It's not. They're not there.
Let's see. In our asset program, they just pull up. They just don't rename them.
No, but I can't even see the custom text anyway. So, and I can only see a limited number of the fields that are available on the system.
Yeah, it is limited. I will say that this is not completely customizable. We kind of have to warn everybody of that. You can do some edits in here. You can fix it up a little bit, but it is definitely not fully customizable. Sometimes people do need a very custom label, and they have to purchase that because it has to be created for them. Because there takes a lot of work in the background of it to do that. So typically, I know in our other programs, they'll pull in right there. If they're not pulling in for our inventory program, I guess I haven't tried to pull custom in here for the inventory yet. But the only thing that I can think of is that you might have to actually do it via a spreadsheet. If that's the case.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it. I can do it by spreadsheet, yeah. Using the fields inside
So
the
basically,
spreadsheet.
you can export out your list of items. So after you get all your items in and you build out those custom fields for all of them,
Mm-hmm.
you in the system, there's an export button. We can export your list of items,
Yeah.
and then you can put that spreadsheet here in Labeler, and then you would have all those columns
Exactly.
in here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So that's another option. I guess I just didn't realize they weren't pulling in there automatically, so that's just something I guess I'm going to need to, I guess that's just how it's designed for this program, though, if it's not there. So in the Data tab, that is where you can pull in spreadsheets or data. So once you export out that spreadsheet, you would just, you would want to pull it in here, so we want to basically
But I can
edit
see
the connection.
I can see a lot more here. Look for item.
Yeah, because that's going to be basically all the fields in your system. What we are editing is an item label. So the options you have only pull from the item list. Anything that's not in the item list is not going to be able to be put on your item label, which is why that's considered a customized label and it has to be purchased.
Item summary.
So
I can see a lot here.
I don't know what you want me to do.
No, just cancel it. Just one.
yeah, no, I'm just thinking. I will say, besides the basic tweaks that we can make today, unfortunately, there is a whole other training just for label training. I'm sorry, just for the labeler program, because there's so many other things that you could do. Unfortunately, not all of us train on that program, and I'm one of those that don't train on all of the things you can do in Labeler. So besides the basic edits that we review in our inventory and asset training that are included, I can either search the help database for you, or if there's not an option for you guys to learn that way, it might be something you guys might be interested in getting to do a quick 1-hour labeler training with our trainer that trains on the whole program. So unfortunately, if it's not in there as an option, it may be considered a customized label and may even have to be purchased. So that's something that I can inquire about once we're done here today and follow up with you guys and see. And if there is another option for you guys to do it yourself, I can send you the instructions for doing that.
Okay.
So if there's not an option to just pull that field immediately, then there's some other tweaks that we're going to have to do.
That's fine.
Okay, so I'll make a note here. So we want to pull in the custom on the item label. And we'll probably have to do that via CSV file.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I'll search I'll look at the help database once we're done, and if there's a help section for that, I'll send that your way. If not, our trainer that trains on the labeler program is out today on vacation, and I'm going to be out next week. So unfortunately, I won't be able to really touch base with her until the end of next week. But I can just reach out at least to our support team and see if that is something that they would need to do on their end for a cost. And I would let you guys know that.
Okay.
Okay, so let's save any changes you made. And we moved a few things around. Or if you want to, that description box, you might need to wrap that text as well, since it's long description.
I did.
Oh, we did? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
I was playing with it while you guys were talking about importing the
Perfect.
item thing.
Perfect. Okay, so all of these little things can be done. You guys can pull other stuff into this label. You can do a lot of stuff with it. Just make sure that whatever you put in here fits on the size that you have. As long as it fits, then you can make the font size and whatnot however you want to. But in our other program, in that content tab, we have the custom fields in there.
Yeah.
So I'll just have to maybe even chat with our developer on, why these aren't. I mean, I guess knowing why really won't help us. They're just not there. But I can do a little bit of investigation myself after our call today and follow up with you guys.
Okay, that will be good. Thanks.
Okay, so let's close out of the label your program. Okay, and close out of this as well. So I know that we still need to talk about the mobile device. Is there anything besides that that you guys can think of that you're going to be doing regularly that we haven't really discussed? Anything for like best processes or practices or anything like that?
I don't think so.
I had a question. We have here some inventory that is not actually inventory. Let's say the tables. What else do you guys take to the events and then take back?
Tabletops and
Tabletops.
skirts and stuff.
Oh, that would be non-inventory, right?
Could we add that as non-inventory? Well, inventory and take it.
Tablecloths
Yeah.
and all that.
You could add it as either one. If you want to track how many you have, it would still have to be added as an inventory item.
Okay.
If you don't
But we
care
could
how
do check
many
in,
you
check
have,
out.
Yeah, we can
We
do
could
check
do
in,
check
check
in,
out
check
without
out.
removing anything. So that would be good.
Okay, if you're going to be checking it out, then it has to be an inventory
Yeah.
item.
No, okay.
Non-inventory can only be removed.
So
can only be added to an order.
So it would
You can't
count as
do anything else with
inventory.
it.
Got it.
Yep, so you can add anything you want to. Put a number on it, put a description on it, add how many you have, and then you can check it out to use it at any of those events, absolutely. That way you know where things are at right now.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not very limited. And I've seen people do all kinds of stuff with this. So,
And then I could
as long as you can
Adjust
put
it
it in there,
out
then
if
you
it's
can do it.
damaged. Like we have damaged tents
Exactly.
and stuff.
And remove them. Oh, adjust it. I mean,
Adjust, yeah.
if they get damaged on the events.
All right, so then what I'm going to do, actually, be sure to go back to the file button and let's log out of the sample company so you guys aren't stuck in there. And then you could, Jenna, you could log right back in with your username that you guys just set up earlier if you wanted to. You can also log in as admin. Now, you guys did not set up a password for the admin account yet. Do you guys want to do that so that your system is secure? Or are you okay with it not having a password?
For the time being,
For
we
right
can leave
now.
it without password.
Okay. So later when you're ready, you can just go right back into the administration and security section and you can edit that admin user and then you can add a password that way.
Yeah.
So whenever you're ready, that'll obviously secure your system a little bit more.
Great.
Okay. Is there anything else you guys can think of before I switch over and share my screen with you with the mobile device?
Well, I have a few questions about the mobile device, but other than that, I don't know. Jenna,
I don't think so.
Randy?
Then I'm going to just switch over. I'm just going to steal the show here and share
Okay.
my screen with you guys. So I have a program that lets me share the screen of my mobile computer with you. So you can actually see it on the screen and how to perform all those functions.
Good.
So we'll look at all the basic functions. We're also going to look at how to do an audit because that's a really big job. And that can help you also adjust your inventory. So if you find that counts are off, sometimes it's nice to just do an audit, and then it will update your quantities for you based on what you found during your audit. So that's another way to adjust your numbers without going through that adjust feature. So just be sure your WebEx viewer is open again so you guys can see my screen here.
Yeah, we can see it.
Now, tell me, are you guys going to be connecting your mobile device via Wi-Fi, or are you wanting to use that USB cable to sync your data each time?
Well, right now we're using with the Wi-Fi, but the other warehouses around the country that is not going to be on our network will have to use the USB cable.
Okay, perfect. So I have to use the USB cable here as well. They locked me out of the Wi-Fi. So I'm going to walk through all the steps for syncing it with the USB cable. And as far as the wireless version goes, when you guys are logged into that RS wireless version, it is automatically updated for you. There is no syncing process or anything. So it is live, real-time data.
Exactly.
So everything you do on the mobile immediately shows up on the computer. Anything you do on the computer immediately shows up on that mobile under the RF version. So that's super easy. So for the other guys that will be at the other locations, they'll need to take a few extra steps. Now, first of all, did you guys install the software onto the mobile device already?
Yeah, both the one with USB and the Wi-Fi.
Perfect. Okay, so you guys are ahead of the game. Most people aren't even there yet when we do training. So you guys, for the batch mode, the USB cable, you obviously had to install this little program in order to even put that software onto the mobile.
Yes.
You will have to have this application up and running anytime you're going to be using your mobile device on the computer. So anytime you're syncing it, trying to get data. And as I plug my mobile device in, you guys will notice here in just a second, it's connecting already. It recognizes it pretty quickly, and it's just going to open up that connection so I can push data through. You do want to make sure that it is fully connected before you go any further. So we want a nice little green check mark here in just a second. I never set up my device because that's just going to sync all of my personal information onto it, and I don't want to do that. So I always just connect without setting it up. Then we don't want to close this. Just leave it up and running, and then we can navigate back into our inventory program. So for batch mode, you see batch and wireless here. After you do the initial setup of your wireless, you never have to go back in here.
That's good.
Unless you, for some reason, need to reinstall it on that device later. So everything else we do for the cable is going to be in batch mode. Anytime you go out to use the device in batch mode, you need to create your mobile database first. And what that is doing ultimately is making a copy of your database just as it is right now and pasting it onto that mobile so that it matches exactly what the database looks like right now. So if I do other things in the computer while somebody is using the mobile device, that's not going to show up automatically if it's in batch mode. I have to sync it again to push that data over. So just kind of keep that stuff in mind. So I'm going to create my mobile database. All I'm doing is clicking next to push the information through. Are you sure? Yes, I am. And it's just going to copy everything over onto that mobile.
A quick question
Not
about
much
that.
I'm doing besides clicking that next button.
A quick question. If someone is using the computer locally and makes some changes on the database, and someone else is using the mobile device on the field and makes some changes as well, when the person with the mobile device syncs it, what's going to happen? How does it update the information to the local database?
Whenever they sync it, it pushes it onto the database. It's connected to it. So it pushes it on there, and it's going to be in your history, it's going to be in your reports, it's going to update all your items and everything.
Will it replace the local information?
No.
Will update it, only update it? Or how does that work?
So, I mean, it depends. I mean, I wouldn't ever have anybody working with quantities of the same exact item on my computer and on the mobile at the same time. So it depends on what it saves last. So if you're in batch mode and you're at the computer updating a quantity for your polo shirt, and somebody else out there is trying to remove your polo shirt, when they come back and sync that up, it will update it to whatever that last save is. So if you already saved it on the computer and they sync it right later, then that's going to be the most current information.
The one from the mobile.
So I would never have anybody messing with the same exact item at the same time.
Yeah, but it could happen, and I wanted to know which one would be the current most, the mobile device, once you sync it, that will be the most current information, right?
Exactly. So if it needs to be updated, you could do that right from the computer right away.
Got it.
Yeah. So yeah, whatever's saved last is going to be what sticks in the system. So I'm going to finish this. So all I did was click next a lot and finish. Now I could unplug it and go use it as much as I want. But I'm going to share this little program with you guys so you can see it. It automatically takes me to the login screen after I create my mobile database. And again, you log in with the same username and password as you do on the computer, which is why you don't want to put any symbols into your password. It does not like them. And then we see all of the functions here that we saw before. Now, you guys are never going to be... Yes.
I said it. I made mine numbers and letters and all that, and it's a pain in the butt, so I'm going to change it.
Yep.
It's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4 or something.
I say that I always tell people, if you're going to be on the mobile device a lot, make it kind of simple just so it's easier to type in because it is a pain in the butt. But let me show you a trick, actually. Let me come back to my login screen. This one.
Now mine doesn't look like that.
Trick, and it should. Let me see. I'll use my stylus here. When you're in your login screen or really anywhere, if you tap on like the white space, like anywhere down here, not in the field, but just in this white space, you can show a keyboard, and then you have to.
Oh, there you go, like texting. I got
That
that.
helps as well.
Yeah, but you have to use
some
the
little
little
hidden
thing
tricks
to
that
write, so.
training is really
No, that's
good for. You get logged back in here.
Mm.
Oh, and then it
Okay.
has a keyboard.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay,
That's
so
the one I
you
use.
guys will never be taking or receiving since you're not going to be using those orders, so you guys won't have to worry about that. So first you can look up the details of something if you just need to see how many am I supposed to have, where is this thing supposed to be at. I can scan one of my items, and then I can choose to look at the inventory of it, and it's going to show me where it should be. If I had it in multiple locations, all of those would be listed here. I can scroll and see I should have 18 of those. So I can do a quick count, see if that's accurate, update it if it's not. So real easy to just look up something real fast.
I don't have
Adding inventory, you guys will be doing a lot as you get more in stock. So that same item, I'm just going to scan it in. All it does is pull in that number for me. I still have to pick where I'm going to put that when I'm adding it. So again, if I had a default location, that would pull in for me, so that would be very helpful. But if I store this in a lot of places, then I might not want a default, because it's easy to just kind of bypass it if something pulls in and not really pay attention to what is there. So you can search by using these little menu icons on the right-hand side. So I'll pick the site that I want to put it in, and then my location.
Ours doesn't look like hers.
This is also where you...
No.
Yes.
Same thing.
Ours doesn't have anything in it. Oh, because we haven't added anything yet.
Exactly.
We added it in the other one in the never mind.
Yeah, no. Because we don't want to
you
mess up
added it in
our
the company,
database.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this is where you can either search for your location, or as I mentioned earlier, scan your location label, which is time saving if you have a lot of locations. So I'm just going to scan my location barcode, and it just allows you guys to work a lot faster. Now, if you're not tracking these three things, they're still going to show up here because they're optional. If you're not going to use them, there's a little trick that you can use for any of this stuff, and that's the pinning feature. So if I don't want to use these at all, then I'll leave them blank and pin them down just by tapping on the word on the left. I can do the same thing with my location and site. So if I'm going to add several different items to the same place, I don't want to have to scan it every single time it clears it out. So I can lock that down. So now I'm going to go ahead and say this item, I'm adding 10 of those, and then click OK. I can immediately scan another one at 6, click OK, immediately scan another one at 5, click OK. And it's very fast paced. So this pinning feature is also kind of an invisible trick, but this allows you to work very quickly as well. Close out when you're done adding, takes you right back to the main menu. I could remove items as well. Just scan my item, pick where I want to remove them from. I'll just pick it this time. I don't have too many locations to pick from. And this, of course, is where you could also track that customer. So I would highly recommend if you want that customer history report to be really accurate to be able to use in the future, you might want to mark this as a requirement for your item. You can search for your customer in your customer list here, and then enter the quantity that you want to remove. Easy enough. We'll look at the move option. Scan our item. Where are we moving it from? Again, we can pick our site. And in any of these functions, this stuff can be pinned down. So if I'm going to be moving a lot of stuff around, then I simply need to pin that stuff down. And then just pick where I want to move it to. And if I'm moving everything to the same place, I can select them, pin those down, and then just keep scanning my item and entering my quantity. Any questions so far?
No.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
I just
it really
noticed-
functions just like the computer, but 10 times easier.
I noticed on yours you only have like 5 boxes. On ours we have lot, date code, serial number, pallet, quantity. I understand quantity, but the other ones, can we Oh, you do?
Yep.
What were you just in?
When you scan an item that does not require the
Oh,
full
because she
track by
scanned
option,
it.
they go
Okay.
away.
You scan, okay. All right. Then that's
Because
the
they're not
difference.
required. These
They
do
will
not go
disappear.
away because
Okay.
they are still optional, so they stay
Okay.
there. Yep, that's great. So that's what it does. So if you scan something that doesn't need that stuff on any of these, those go away. So that way you can just bypass it real quickly. The adjust feature, just like we just looked at, if I need to adjust this particular item, pick the location I'm adjusting it to, then we have by count or by difference. So just make sure you're opening up that little drop down there and picking the correct one. And then, of course, we want to select our reason if something broke. So it's going to be the same thing. And then we just type our quantity in for what we want to adjust. The transaction code, you only see this when you adjust or when you do an audit. And that is just an optional extra field if you need to track some kind of unique identifying code to go and find this adjust later or find that audit later. I don't know if anybody really uses it, but some people might need to have some type of code that says this is the code for this audit or the code for this adjustment. Maybe you put in your initials for whoever's doing it or whatever you want. I never use it, never have. Don't think I've met a customer that has used it either. But it is there. It's totally optional.
Now, I have a quick question. You can't change things or change the text or add or subtract actual fields from the mobile, can you?
If you've renamed it in the system, it will rename it on here as well. But no, there's nothing that we can edit from the mobile as far as fields go.
This as the adjust code where it would say positive, negative in the sample company, it said positive, negative, breakage, damage, whatever. And in mine right now, it's just showing positive. That's all it says. So I would add those fields on the PC.
No, it pulls in by default, so it pulled in on mine too. I just deleted it and went to search my list. If positive is up here, delete it and then click find again. And it will pull in all your reasons.
Yeah.
So that if it's typed in, that's the only thing it's going to find because it's the only one that's called positive. So if you delete it and click find, it'll show your whole list.
They don't exist yet on our system.
It just pulls it in by default because it's at the top of the list. Which is the same reason it pulls in by counts by default because it's at the top of the list.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So when I first go into adjust, positive is there. And if I go search, it's still there. I have to delete it, click find, and then everything pulls up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just beginning of the list, so it pulls in automatically. So checking out your inventory, you simply fill in who you want to check it out to, scan your items, what location are we pulling those items from, and of course the quantity for how many. And then you can always change to no due date to a custom due date and actually pick what day you want to make sure you have that stuff back by, and I'll just go ahead and check
Like
out.
2 p.m. on Tuesday.
Yeah, so that's what will trigger that alert. So, if you know the event should be over on a certain day and I should be able to check these things back in the following day, then maybe I want to go ahead and send an alert for that so that if I don't get that stuff back to check in, I know to follow up with whoever it is that took them. So it is nice, even if you don't really need them back by that day, it's nice to just be alerted or reminded, especially if you're checking out a bunch of stuff all over the place and you don't know what's gone where. It's nice to get those reminders.
Andy always knows.
Checking back in, same exact thing, just scan your items, pick the customer that has it, where you want to put it when you get it back, and then how many you're checking back in. You can put in brand new items on here as well. If you already have your items barcoded, it's easy to scan again. If you don't, you have to type that number in order to create it. You can put in a description and a cost here. You can require these items, so if you want to make sure that customer is tracked when you get rid of it, you just mark that box. And you can select your track size on here. all that other data that we saw in all of those other tabs, you need to put in on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your custom fields, let me jump over here real quick. In our other program, we have the ability to push our custom fields onto our mobile. Let me do this real quick. And let me do a little test real fast, because I don't know if I've really ever used them on inventory. On our asset program, we use them all the time. So let me real quick, I'm going to do a little test here in 1 second to double check on that. So new item, edit item, just scan your item. You can double tap on it. It's going to pull up those details for you to edit. And for some reason, I'm thinking our custom fields won't pull over, but I'm going to check it out real quick for you. So when you're done using the mobile in batch mode, we have to push that data back onto our system so that we can pull up reports and see everything that was done. The first thing you need to do before you sync it back up is close out this program on the mobile device just by clicking OK, and that closes it out. And then you come back, plug it back in, make sure it's connected, and we're going to get the data from. So before we go use it, we create our mobile database. When we're done using it, we're going to get the data from that device. Click next.
But we don't have to do
Just
that.
really a series of clicking next a lot, and finish. It pulls a nice little report over here for us. I just keep going through until I see all the transactions I did. Just like on the computer, every time we can review our pending list before we commit it. In batch mode, you can review your transactions before you commit them. In Wi-Fi mode, they are automatically saved to your database immediately when you save them on the mobile. So there is no double checking to ensure you did it properly, which is why I really do like batch mode, even though there's a couple extra steps. To me, it's totally worth it. So I can review everything that they did on here, and if anything was entered in wrong, I can say, no, I didn't give them 10 of those, I only gave them 1. I don't want to accept that one, so I'm going to uncheck it. Then I'm going to go and check out one item to them after I'm done uploading their stuff. So it's real easy to just kind of double check your work. So that's another reason I really do like batch mode. I'll accept all of them and finish. Then I just went ahead and added a custom field. Let me choose this one right here. And let me put something in here real fast. Say this is red. And we're going to do a test. So I did something new on the computer. It's not on my mobile device immediately. I need to create a mobile database again to push it over there. So I'm going to do that. We're going to test that out and see if those pull over. I'm thinking they don't. But I do a lot of training on our asset program as well, and I know they do. So sometimes it's easy to just kind of confuse the two. So let me go back in here, log right back in.
Can't you use the send data to mobile device button?
The send data to mobile device is basically the same thing as creating. It's just sending new data on here to the mobile device. This is basically creating a full copy of your database.
Okay.
It's better, in my opinion, than just sending data, but you could. But this is going to create a full copy of like everything. This one right here is actually, it's not going to let me do it right now because I just created it, so I'll have to go back in there. But yes, you could. Honestly, these are the two that I go back and forth between.
Okay.
I think it's better in my opinion. So I'm going to look at the details of my item I just added a color to. Not going to be able to see it in the details. Let's see if I edit it and scan it in. And I'm pretty sure there's not a tab for a custom, but maybe it'll surprise me. Oh, it is.
It is. Nice.
Okay. So, yep, it will. So it didn't show because it didn't have any custom fields, which is why I wanted to create one real fast.
Yeah.
But you would be able to edit those as well. Let me check one more. Let me just make sure when I do a new item that it's also going to pull in there.
It is.
Yep, perfect. They told I've never used custom in inventory, but you guys have a lot of reasons to use them, so that'll be helpful for you.
It will be, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to just real quick close out of this again, and we're going to talk about an audit. you notice there's no audit button on that mobile device. Audit is a very special task, and you have to put your system into audit mode whenever you want to do an audit. When we put our system into audit mode and we're using the batch mode of the mobile, we have to also force our mobile device into audit mode. When you go into audit mode and you're using wireless on your mobile device, it will automatically go into wireless mode. I'm sorry, it will automatically go into audit mode. Yes. So, it's Friday, can you tell? I'm done. So what we're going to do first is put our system into audit mode, then we're going to force our mobile device into audit mode so we can do that audit. First thing you want to do, go to inventory, begin your audit. Are you sure? Absolutely. It will always recommend that you do a backup of your database. If you guys are doing that regularly on your server, just click OK, you're done. It's up to you how often you do a backup, just a recommendation there. We have audit mode is active. Some functionality is restricted. A lot of functionality is restricted. We can't do anything with our quantity, our inventory, while we're in audit mode. Because then an audit would never be successful. It would always be wrong.
Right.
So when you're in audit mode, no one can do anything else with your inventory until you're done with your audit. It doesn't matter what computer they're on, what mobile device they're on. They can't do anything because you need to verify that your counts are accurate. So when I put my system into audit mode, if I'm in RF version, then my mobile device is already in audit mode. That's all I can do. But I need to force it into audit mode for batch, so I'm just going to create my mobile database again. That's it. It's just going to copy it exactly as it is right now and put it into audit mode.
Yeah.
So just remember, however we copy it,
I can't get to
that
the
is what will
screen.
show up. So if I'm already in audit mode, that's what will show up. I'll finish that. And we're going to see a very different
I don't
screen
like this at
now. We
all.
log in. A lot of that stuff is gone. And really all I can do is an audit. I can look stuff up. I can add a brand new item, but I can't add inventory to it. And I could edit an item, but I can't do anything with my quantity at all.
Got it.
So I'm going to audit. All the screens look very similar. Again, these things that aren't required will disappear when I scan my first asset. So it's
It
just
keeps
going to be
telling
the
me
things
that
that I need to
can't
record that will
log
show
in.
up. I'm sorry?
It keeps telling me I can't log in. I'm not in the same place you are, and it's
This is not ours. This is hers.
no. I know, but I haven't seen this at all. The only thing I saw was the list screen or whatever, and somehow I was trying to
but
find
still,
that, and
we're
I
not
logged
on
out.
audit mode either, so we wouldn't be able to see what we're seeing with her.
Well, you have to, did you
But I haven't found this screen.
Those are on our system, not here. This is like a.
Oh, this is okay.
Yeah, that's it.
She keeps going back to here, or I keep seeing this, and I'm looking like, never mind. Never mind.
Got a little confused
I don't
there.
know what you're looking at anymore.
No.
Well, I was looking at the background where it has the big
We have it here.
buttons.
But we are.
We're looking at her
The
screen.
screen of your mobile device.
It makes sense now.
Different than mine.
Don't worry.
About, like, this screen.
Don't worry about it. It makes sense now.
Okay. So, and just so you guys are aware, since you have both and you installed both of them on there, you are going to have two different inventory control icons. One will say RF on the end, which will be your wireless, and then one will be the regular one, which is batch mode. So when you're in Wi-Fi range, you're not going into this
Wi-Fi?
one. You're going into, I scrolled to
That's
it,
what I was.
the
So
one
we
that
go
says
to the
RF.
middle one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
See,
it's
I
two
went
very
into the
different
wrong
programs.
one.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
it's
why
very
I couldn't
different.
get in.
So
That
you just
didn't
have to
either.
make sure you're going into the right one.
That was why.
I was going into the wrong one.
Okay, yeah, then that makes sense.
I was like
Oh,
that.
That's okay. That's what we're here for. Let me get me logged back in. Okay, so I'm going to do an audit. I'm going to scan the first item I want to audit and pick the site and location that I want to audit. And again, I can pin this stuff down. If I'm going to audit several things in this shelf, then I'm going to pin it down and audit everything back to back. I don't care about the transaction code, so I'm going to get that out of my way. I'm going to say I found 9 of these, click OK. I found 3 of these, click OK. 25 of these, and I'm going to go ahead and And one more, I found 42 of those. And that's it. And you can just audit as much as you want to, as little as you want to. You can switch to a different shelf and audit the next shelf, pin it down, audit everything on there. So that's why I would never do it on a computer. Otherwise, you're writing it down, then you're going to the computer and inputting it all. Whereas right here, scan quantity, very fast. Okay, back to the main screen. And we have to close out of here if we're in batch mode so that we can sync that back up and see everything we audited. So I'm going to jump right back and get my data again. So those processes will start becoming pretty fluid. Create a database, get your data over and over. I can see these are the 4 things I've audited. This is what I just physically counted. If that is what I physically counted, I'll finish and accept them all. I still need to reconcile that audit though. Just because that's what I physically counted doesn't mean that's what it says my system has.
Right.
So I'm going to go back to inventory on the computer and I want to reconcile that now. This will show me, as big as I'm going to be able to make it, what I actually counted and what I was supposed to find. So here you can compare if your counts are off. Then you can start making sure everybody knows how to remove and move things around like they're supposed to. So at that first one, I should have found 10, I only found 9. This one was accurate. This one I found 1 less. This one I found 5 less. So somebody's not updating our system like they should be. So this is a really quick way to just see what's off.
Bionic wrench.
Now, if I click on, I'm sorry?
A bionic wrench.
Don't
It's
ask me.
It's just odd. I was like, really?
Stable company, don't ask me. It's a bunch of random stuff. I don't know what a bionic wrench is. I wish I did.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
It does. It sounds like really fancy, like robot material
Yes.
here that we're doing. Okay, so if I click OK, it's basically going to adjust my numbers for me. It is going to adjust to match what I just physically counted. Because I don't want my system to tell me I have 47 if I really only have 42. And so it will update that to be what it's supposed to be. So under action, it automatically sets it to the audited quantity because that's my physical count right now. If for any reason you wanted to keep it at the current quantity, maybe you know where those other 5 are and you just need to move them back there. So I'm going to keep it at current quantity and I'm going to go grab those real fast and put them there. That would be maybe the only reason I would keep it at current. Or you could ignore it and go do a recount real fast just to make sure and then come back in here and choose which count you want to use. So typically you're just going to want to adjust it to be what you physically count unless there is some other reason you want to keep it at that other number. So I'll click OK, and it's going to update those numbers for me. It is going to immediately ask if I want to end the audit. I recommend getting in the habit of saying no right after you do your reconcile. That way you stay in audit mode for a little bit longer, and you can pull some reports that are only there when you're in audit mode. So I'm going to go back to reports real fast. There is a whole section down here that's not visible when we're not in audit mode, and that's the audit report. Now, don't panic. There are still 2 audit history reports that are always here under this transaction section. You can see them by date or even by each individual item number. So those are always there. But this little section, there is one that I really like to pull after I do an audit, and that's the not counted items report. That will show me anything I did not count during my audit, which will likely be a lot of stuff. If you didn't do a full audit of your entire warehouse, then there's going to be a lot of stuff here that you didn't audit, but that would tell you where to start next time. So you can go in and see, oh, I didn't audit anything on this shelf. This is where I need to start. So that can be really helpful when you're breaking your audit down into pieces. So I'll pull this, and it's going to show me a lot of stuff. Now, I just audited a specific shelf. So if I want to see anything that I did not audit on a specific shelf, then I can filter it. And I can say I want to filter this by a specific location, and it was A1A that I audited. So I want to see anything that I did not audit there. The only thing I didn't get to was that Lenovo. Either it wasn't sitting there at all, or I just didn't have time to get to it. But it's going to tell me I did not audit that. So it might be handy to go and track that thing down. So this is really nice. Remember, you could export it out and just save it to your computer. So the next time you do an audit, you kind of have a list of where to start. Because it'll pull up everything you did not audit. Now, the audit history ones, these are the same ones that are up in that other section. This is the one I really like because it separates each date that I did an audit. So in my system, I restore every time I do a training, so I only get today's date. But it would show the last audit I did, everything in there. The last audit, everything in there. And it's going to show you also those discrepancies. So if your counts are off, you're still going to see that in your audit history report. So the history report's nice. It's still going to show you the important details that you need. So really, when it says do you want to end your audit that first time, if you don't care about grabbing any of these other ones, then you could end it. Because these history reports will still be there. But it might be worth it the first few times to just kind of look at these, see what did I accept? What did I not reconcile yet? Things like that. Those are in here just for this particular audit, which is why they're only available in the audit mode. Now, when I'm done with the reports, I do want to get back out of audit mode, so I'll go back to inventory and officially end the audit now. Yes, I am sure this time my functions are back, audit mode is gone. If I'm in RF, then my device, I can immediately log back into that RF inventory control and get to work. If I'm in batch mode, I'm still stuck in audit mode. So don't forget to, once again, create a mobile database and push that mobile device out of audit mode. So just keep in mind with that batch mode, nothing's automatic. You gotta push that data over to get it updated. And now we're ready to go again. Everything's done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with about 15 minutes left, what kind of questions do you guys have? Is there any particular thing you want to review that we went over and just kind of see again?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to play with this mobile device thingy. I'm gonna have to. I'm sure I'm gonna have questions about this thing.
That's okay.
Because it
So,
looks.
and yeah, you guys have to get all your stuff in there, get it all uploaded. I will say you cannot sync the mobile with the sample company in order to just practice. It will only sync with your real database. So just keep that in mind. So if you want to just practice with stuff on there, and then I would recommend when you're putting in an item, I would just do a new item that's called test. And I would just practice with that test item.
Okay.
That way when you look in your history, you won't see a bunch of random history for your real stuff.
Yeah.
Your real stuff will be accurate, and you'll just be practicing with that test item.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's what I would recommend if you just want to practice on the mobile.
I think that would be wise, yeah.
Now, I would go ahead and fill out the custom text for it and all of that, so it really matches your other items.
Yes.
But I would just make sure this is there, so that will show in your report, oh, that's when we were practicing. That can be
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
just a recommendation because we can't sync that with that sample company. Everything else, you want to practice on the computer, do it in the sample, and you can add items in there, you can add your custom fields in there, you can do whatever you want to in that sample. So, a few things to just kind of note for post-training after you guys get everything in there and you get going. I understand questions will come up. First, I'm going to be emailing you the link to your recording. With that, I'm going to include the link to install that patch to update to the 7.2, so you guys have that updated as well. You are going to have my email address. If you have a question, feel free to shoot me an email. I am typically on back-to-back training calls. You can definitely try to reach me on the phone, but I do respond to emails 10 times faster because I check those on breaks and in between lunch and in between trainings and such. So I do get back to you guys pretty quickly. I'm happy to help with any questions you guys have here and there. Don't forget, you have the help section, which has that built-in user manual. That is phenomenal. It has every function you could possibly do, screenshot, step-by-step directions. Now, you do also have tutorial videos on our website for free that that will also walk through these different functions using the mobile device, doing an audit, things like that. The most basic stuff is on there. When it comes to labeler, if there is more stuff you want to know about labeler and you're not ready to get a labeler training, there are a lot of videos on our website for the labeler as well. So that might be something to also navigate through. I've still made a note to follow up on pulling your custom labels in there, or your custom fields in there. So I'll be following up with you on that, but just kind of as a heads up, there are videos on there for all kinds of stuff.
Good.
If later on, if you go through it and you get so fast and you're like, you know what, we have a lot of stuff we really want to go over, it might be worth it to purchase another training. Now that you've purchased the full 3 hours, you could purchase additional training in 1 hour increments. So if you're like, we'd love to just do another quick hour webinar, then you can just purchase a quick 1 hour webinar. I'm happy to answer questions here and there. It's kind of, if I determine that you guys have so many questions that you need another training, then I'll recommend it. But if you really don't have a bunch, send them to me. I'm happy to help as much as I can.
Okay.
Good to know.
So I get those links usually about 10 minutes or so after training's over, so it probably won't come to me before I walk out the door for lunch. So I'll be sending that to you just as soon as I get back. I've got my notes here. Before I walk out, I'm going to follow up with somebody about those custom fields on your label. So right after I get back to lunch, I should be able to type you up an email and give you guys all the information you need.
That's great. Well, thank you very much, Amanda.
Absolutely. It's a really user-friendly product. I don't think you're going to have a problem with it. I think the biggest job is putting everything in there. That just takes time. It's tedious work.
Yeah.
But it looks like you guys already got a pretty good head start with creating all those fields that you created and everything else. But I'm here and happy to help. So again, I'll send this recording to you guys here probably within the next hour. I'll be able to get it out. So take a look for that. Actually, you know what? I have Sandy's information as the contact person. Is it okay to send that to her and her forward it to you, or do you want me to send it to one of you guys specifically?
Well, if you can send it to me directly, that would be best.
Absolutely. And is this Ricardo?
Yeah. Can I put the email right here on the Q&A field?
Yeah, do that. Or either the chat or the Q&A, yeah, that'd be perfect. Then I can copy and paste it and make sure I write it down right.
Can you send it to multiple? If she does it to warehouse,
Oh.
it'll come to me and Brandy.
Oh,
I
okay.
can. Just go ahead and, type in whatever email addresses in there that you want me to send it to, and I will send it to both. I'll just copy Sandy on it since she is our main contact, but that way you guys will have it right away and won't have to wait for it to be forwarded.
The send button, I'm not
No,
able.
go to chat.
Oh, got a chat.
Try to chat, yeah. The Q&A helps with some of our other webinars when we do like big growth training.
And what's the one here?
And there's the warehouse
Warehouse?
at Team IP Sports, right?
Or Team IP?
Yeah, probably.
Team IP Sports, I
And
think.
Jenna, your name is spelled Jenna, is that right?
Yes, it is.
And what's your last name?
Lawrence. L-A-W.
L-A-U-R-E-N?
L-A-W-R-E-N-C-E.
Oh, Lawrence. Okay. Perfect. And it's Ricardo Richard. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect, guys. Let me copy that real
And-
quick before I end our session so I don't lose it here.
Are you seeing the both the emails that I just sent you?
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just copying it and pasting it on my notes real fast so that I don't lose it.
Great.
Okay. Perfect. So again, just look out for that. After I get back from lunch, I'll just send all that stuff to both of you. Get your system upgraded first to that version 7.2. So all
I
the
will
other
do
things,
that right now.
And I'm wondering, I'm going to have to check in mine, but I'm wondering if maybe custom fields aren't pulling in because that might have come out with that patch as well. So that's why I'm like, I'm a little confused when I didn't see them. So that could fix it, but I'm going to double check and I will absolutely follow up with you guys regarding that.
Excellent.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, good luck to you in setting it all up, and I hope you both have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
So thanks for using
I'm done. I'm just like,
I'm
blah.
hungry. Unbelievably hungry.